What's up, y'all? So we're gonna talk about bent wires, which is basically everything in here, including a few Slim Jims.
Ooh, it's never do a Slim Jim.
But this guy is actually still riding around in my truck. Before the days of Lishi, before the days of long reach were popular, we used things like this to reach down in the door after you put a little wedge in there, and it would grab the rod. So just like that, like here's the rod right here, and you would twist it like that, boop, and here's the rod in the door, and then you would just move it either back and forth or up and down depending on what needed to be done. And we used wedges like this. Those of you who open cars nowadays probably just carry around a long reach tool. This is my latest one. I can't even remember what brand it is, but it has seemed to be a pretty decent one. I have tried many different brands, especially like the screw together, and then the ones with the movable handle. Slim Jims, and we had these books. These were our Bibles. In case you were not familiar, back in the day, in 2004, look at that. We'll just take a look. A through J. You can come in. Oh, there's that one I was just using. There we go. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? There we go. This is what we went by. Even back in 2004, long reaches were recommended, but there were a whole bunch of ways, and literally every year we would update this kit. And it's kind of funny because there's some stuff that people use long reaches on now, like just for instance this Ford Crown Victoria. I've seen tow truck drivers use a long reach, and literally that's just this little, where is it? That's just one of the more common ones, used millions of times when I unlocked cars. But there's that. You just go in there and pop the button right up. It takes 5 seconds to do, but I see tow truck drivers and other people with that long reach trying to do, I don't know what the hell they're trying to do, but this is just a quick video to show y'all who may not be familiar with actual car opening tools. In the door, we see the nice black and white thing showing kind of where you go in, where you do it. And every year there were 2 to 5 tools that would come out. What they would do, what this company would do, would be to rent cars. I'm sure the car rental company loved these people, but they came out with these like drop and rock tools. This was actually a new one for this year, if I recall. I was never fond of that one, but some of them work, like the focus tool. That's called the focus tool. And you just drop it down. See here, you have to go in at a real sharp angle, and we just, it shows you where the rod is, and you kind of have to visualize it because you can't really see. You can see, but you can't really see, so it's a lot of feel involved in opening cars with these tools. And it was somewhat dangerous because you did have the under the door tools, the under the window tools. Some of my favorite ones were the S tool. This tool is the only tool that I've ever broken a window with. Knock on wood. It was a Ford. And this one, because it's curved, you have to go down and then turn and then go down. What I did was I went down and I pressed too hard, and it just pushed up against the glass. These tools, unfortunately, are one of the worst dangerous ones. This is actually an under the window tool. What it does is it goes up, it goes down, like here's your window, it goes down in there and then comes up on the inside, right, just like that. And if you have an exposed button, this little sharp tip just grabs the button and lifts it up. The tools, the cars that this one worked on, actually this worked really well for those vehicles. Again, this was one of the heavier used ones, used on a lot of cars. Basically, a deeper swoop if it was a big bodied, big door car, or if it was further back in there, and then this side was just for straight on. Use that one quite a bit. There is the same thing, but it's a lift uppy tool. You lift it up, you go down in, pull up, and turn. And then this tool was to get in and grab a button and lift it up when the button's on close to the inside handle of the door. A lot of these tools were very, very touchy, in addition to the fact that you had to be real careful not to disconnect the linkage. These tools have always been responsible for tools getting stuck in doors. Bad problem. Sometimes you get it in there and you get it unlocked and you can't get it out. It takes a minute to get it out. And let's see what else we have. There's that focus tool. When the focus hit the market, this tool is wonderful. Literally on the focus, you just went down really close to the edge of the door, all the way down to the bottom, turned it, and lifted up, and it popped right open. And if you're trying to use a long reach tool to do it, it's way more difficult to do. Here's that same tool that we had a minute ago, except shorter, for shorter doors. And that's it's a little bit shorter. And you see, obviously I don't carry any of those anymore. Inside the door tool, most dangerous one because it comes up inside the door. You gotta fight, sometimes you gotta fight metal pieces to get it up in there, and then when you get it in there, sometimes it's really hard to get it to float. This is the small one. There is a big one somewhere over here. And then this guy, another lift up tool. The problem with lifting up on doors like that is you can disconnect the linkage pretty easily. And then we have these little specialty little bent wires, just bent wires. This actually goes through the handle of a certain year model Toyota. You just lift the handle up and you reach in there, boop, and then turn it, and it pops it open most of the time. A variety of wedges. You could buy any number of wedges back in the day. My favorite one ended up being the bigger one from High Tech Tools, or they changed it to Access Tools. You had to be careful with this because it was so long and swoopy, but they also had, regular wedges. A lot of people like wood wedges for that. Almost all of the stuff that I have is, I don't need that, is HPC, and then I even had jigglers, the old jiggler keys. I don't know what those are in there for. But I guess I can get rid of that determinator thing right there. I hate the determinator so much. But as you can see, over the years we have fashioned quite a few various long reach tools. Everything from pieces of, well, hold up. There we go. Everything from pieces of fish tape. Fish tape worked really well because it was so thin you could get it down in there. Nowadays, I didn't bring them in, but I've got air wedges. Air wedges is the easiest way to do that. But you had all these with the coating, and the coating would rip off and get all bent up, and so you ended up having to replace them. Look at the tip on that guy. That's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, and then of course your good old, I don't know what the heck this is. This is a slide auto release. Super thick. Boom, boom. Had a number of different ones like that. There we go. A bunch of them to try to make long reach tools. And of course, good old Slim Jims here. All sorts of Slim Jims of varying styles. I used to have a bunch of kits of these. There's a narrower one with, that's like a dual style right there to minimize the number of tools you got to carry. But yeah, Slim Jim, snap into a Slim Jim. This is actually a peg leg gem, the HPC peg leg gem. It's got a peg leg. Just go down there and grab whatever you got to grab. I have never used a Slim Jim except to open filing cabinets. That's about the only thing I feel like I need a Slim Jim for, is to open filing cabinets, which that does work sometimes, but I've never used it on cars. These are all old school, before my time. And I could have used them on a lot of Fords and stuff, but I was not ever a fan of the flat strips of steel, the Slim Jims to open cars. So I would just use my updated kit. And during the time, we had 3 or 4 guys running calls, so we didn't just have to buy one update kit, because the update kit came with the new bucks. 2004, I think this was, no, I think I've got some like 2007 in the truck. But again, the 2 books, encyclopedias. The encyclopedias of car opening, and I still use some of these tools. I don't open, y'all know I don't do a lot of automotive anymore, but I do still use some of these, even though I have a few Lishis and stuff like that. But if you run up on an older car where you just have the button, you know, like a Ford Ranger or something like that, this thing, you boop boop, it's way quicker than using a Lishi. I don't care how fast you are with the Lishi, it's way quicker using it with the Lishi. And then you have these silly screw together ones. I hated these so much. This was some weirdo idea that they came up with to try to make it so that you didn't have to have these long pieces of metal, but the screw together, you'd have it and you'd screw it together just like this. You'd be like, I'll get into your car just as soon as possible. And you get down in there and you start pulling, and the next thing you know, it unscrews. And I hated them so much that those did not last very long at all. Then you have this monster. This was caropeningtools.com. They went through several rebrands, but this is Access Tools. This is a big beefy monster, and it actually has a quick release right here, so you could break it down. The whole point was to break it down if you needed to. It will come apart, I think, maybe not, but it was a monster. It's no good. So anyway, I had gotten to this point in my cleaning up of the back room, and I figured I would show y'all kind of the stuff that somebody that opened cars pretty often back in the day, some of the crap that we had to deal with. So, in case you didn't know, bent wires was an automotive locksmith's life. If you unlocked cars in the past, you're very familiar with this. Very familiar with this whole mess of tangled wires. And it did have a big red kit. They used to come with a big red kit. It's about that size, but it was wider. And, you know, the same that it fit in there. I found those Craftsman. I still wish they made those, but those were excellent for the smaller, the shorter tools. But, you know, in your truck, you had to have a bunch of different things to unlock cars with. So, anyway, that's it. I'm just showing y'all bent wires. That's all it is bent wires that costed a lot of money. Really, it wasn't a matter of buying new tools. It was a matter of getting the books so that we knew how to do the newest cars. And I remember, you know, the kit, the updates could have been, I want to say they were like $150 to $200 each, mainly for the cost of printing the books. I understand that, but you always got a couple of new tools. Then they started sending them out with these handles that screwed on. I never understood that. Those sucked. I hated the ones with the handles because the handle would kind of get in the way. And then shortly after that, we stopped unlocking cars So we never updated it past, I think, 2007. That was 2004. Then we went 2 or 3 years and bought a 2007, I think is what's in my truck. Because there's still easier ways besides a Lishi, besides a long reach tool, to get in to a lot of vehicles that are still on the road today. So, in case you didn't know, this is what we had to deal with. I did forget to show off this one. I forgot to bring it in. These are the danger tools. Danger tools. Danger dirty tools. All of the under the door tools. Some of these are super dangerous. Some of them just didn't work. But they are all what I consider the danger zone. I had to be extremely careful with these guys, and they are all tied together very well, aren't they? They had several different versions. And see, it's kind of flat too. They kind of flatten it a little bit. This one is one version. Let's see what else. We got a long version. Let's see this one. Yeah, see how it's got a different angle on the little hoop right there. And this one is a specific use, but see, we had several different ones. We had the long one. This one very rarely worked right. It's supposed to be for bigger cars, but it was one of my least favorite ones to try to use. You can see how much longer it is than the other ones there. It's big. It's called the deep access tool. And this is a deep access tool with a sharper bend in a little bit. And then lastly, this one is actually, see all the blue tape that I have on there. They actually sold little, every year every update, you'd get little rubber tips that go on them. They always popped off. This guy was actually my main one. This one kind of did pretty much everything I needed it to do. And then lastly was this little guy right here. This is a under the door to pop up the button, just like that other one that I showed you, except it's kind of reverse. So you go up in, and this one was good because it didn't have to come up very far in the door. You come up in and ideally grab the button and lift up. The only other one that I didn't bring in to show y'all was a piece of plastic. Oh, that thing's so dirty. Basically, it was just a piece of a plastic with a couple of wires in it, and you could manipulate it with the 2 wires at the end. High Tech Tool made it for a while, and then they discontinued it, and it was literally one of the best ever car opening tools for buttons that I had ever used. And I still need to fix that, because you just wedge the window a little bit and then reach down in there, and it lets you, by pulling on the different wires, it bends the tip back and forth, and then it's got a little circle of, it's aircraft cable, and the little circle at the end would go over the button and pop it off. There is another, this is a handmade version of that same Toyota tool that I showed you a minute ago, and somewhere in here I believe I've got a Astro tool that was made by Tech Train. I don't know where it is. It's basically a fork specifically for the Astro, and it actually worked pretty well. It's kind of hard to get in there, but anyway, now we're done. Just thought I'd show you those two, the danger tools. Just thought I'd show y'all while I was cleaning all this up. I don't know what I'm going to do with all that. Anyway, there you go. In case you didn't know, bent wires. That was how you got into cars. Thanks for watching, y'all, and we'll catch you next video.